Hello, hello, my friends. My name is Allison. For those of you who don't know me, I am a backpacking educator and empowerment coach, and I am the founder of the She Dreams of Alpine blog and the creator of the Become an Out program, which teaches women how to become safe, confident, and self-sufficient in the outdoors so that they can go on to fulfill their biggest adventure dreams without waiting on someone else to help them make it come true. This is such powerful work that we do at She Dreams of Alpine and in the Backpacking Badass program when you learn how to step into your own strength and ability on the trail and you know that you have your own back. So I love doing what I do. And today I want to talk to you about resistance. But first things first is let me just double check that I can hear myself. Okay, yes, I can too loudly. Okay, great. So I can hear myself on Facebook. It looks like things are working. If you are online with me, feel free to say hello. Let me turn my volume down on my phone so that I can have the chat box up with myself as well. So I will try to keep eyes on the chat box while I'm doing this, but I am very bad at multitasking. So just know that I will come back to it. Okay? So, I have posted a few things this past week on the concept of resistance and how it shows up with backpacking in particular. So, today I want to talk about it because this is one of the single most important things for you to become aware of if you want to start going on more and more adventures and more backpacking adventures into the outdoors. So, resistance can show up in all kinds of forms, but the one that I specifically want to talk to you about today is the resistance that shows up right before you're supposed to go on a backpacking trip. So, let me explain how this happens, okay? Many of you decide that, like, yes, this is my year. Maybe you set a goal at the beginning of the year, or you join our backpacking program, or you just decide, like, you see a movie and you're like, I want to go backpacking. I want to learn how to do it. I'm all in. I'm setting the goal, I'm setting the intention, and you're feeling all of the good things from that goal setting process, right? And it's a really awesome place to be in because it's a really great energy. You're excited. And I love being in that space and that energy, but I also want you to be aware of what happens after that. Usually, and particularly with backpacking, there is a bit of time between the goal setting period and the learning you need to do and your actual backpacking trip start date. It's not usually like you set the goal and then you immediately go on a backpacking trip. Usually there's some learning involved, unless you've already been somebody, you know, you're already a backpacker. But even if you're already a backpacker, you're going to experience this sort of waiting resistance time period that I'm going to be talking about today. And just like so many other things in our life, you'll lose that initial excitement. Most of the time you will. And or it will like ebb and flow kind of like a roller coaster. But the point is that you're going to have moments of excitement and then you're going to have moments of like self-doubt or just like, I don't know if I like that into it. Life's so busy, things like that. It's just like setting the goal for New Year's. I'm sure you all are familiar with it. Like at the beginning of January, setting all these big goals and then kind of like petering out at the end. So, what this looks like for backpacking in particular, usually this happens really close to your trip. More specifically, it happens more close to your trip. It could be a little further out than that, but or whatever. Uh, you might start thinking some thoughts like this. I wrote down some examples that have happened to me and I've heard students talk about. They'll say things like, I don't think I'm ready. I just don't feel like going anymore. It's been such a busy week. I'll just go another time. My family needs me here. It's selfish for me to go on this trip. I'll just stay. Like my kids want me to stay. I have so much to do. I'm really tired. I had a really busy week. I deserve to relax instead of doing this. And also, like, you could have the thought, I'm just not that stoked on it anymore. I'm not that excited about it anymore. So these are all super reasonable sounding thoughts, right? You're probably thinking to yourself like, "Oh, I was excited. now I'm not, like, now life has happened and I should just accept that. Like, that's kind of where we're getting. They seem really reasonable because we're like in it, we're in our lives. These are the thoughts we're having in the moment. But what you'll notice is, and if you become more aware of this, is that we often have these thoughts like always at the most inconvenient time for us to cross the finish line to a big goal that we've set. So for many of my students, that's that first backpacking trip or first solo backpacking trip or a backpacking trip outside of their comfort zone. That's when they start to experience all these thoughts and all these things come up like seemingly right before the trip. And so I want to know, has that ever happened to you? You can let me know in the chat box if it has. Um, like if you've experienced that like moment before a trip, just all the things seem to come up, all the thoughts come up. This is resistance. So these thoughts that we're presenting ourselves is the concept of resistance. And I want you to know it happens to me all the time. So I have actually like I've been hiking and backpacking and climbing for 8+ years now, and I experience this concept of resistance so often to any big trip or anything that I plan that's like a little out of the norm for me. Right before the trip, I experience resistance and without fail for some reason. So let me give you some examples of that for me to put it in perspective. So I'll give you an example from like past, and then I'll give you a really recent one that came up for me. So the first one is Mount Shasta. I planned this trip, I believe it was 2017. I planned this trip with my best friend, and we were so stoked. We joined a guided trip to do Mount Shasta. It was going to be like a really epic challenge. It was 2 days we were going to do it in. It was like a ton, 7,000 feet of elevation gain over like 5 miles. It was a 14er, so I was excited to check that one off my list. And I was so, so stoked about this trip because I'd never done Shasta before. And then the week before my trip happened, and I just remember telling myself all kinds of stories about the trip and myself and how I felt about it. I was telling myself I wasn't ready, I wasn't in shape enough. I started telling myself and worrying about being the slowest one in the group and holding other people back. I started telling myself it's going to be hard. And then that made me feel like that thought made me feel like I didn't want to do it anymore. I also was like, I'm just so busy with work. I just want to relax. I've been working so hard lately. All of the things and the mind drama came up inconveniently, like right before my trip. So I'd been stoked the whole time, been planning for it, training for it. And then the week before the trip, it was just like all the mind drama and self doubt and wanting to not go happened, the resistance. Same with a recent hike that I went on here in Puerto Rico, just like a normal day hike thing. It was this cool hike in the El Yunque forest here, and somebody had suggested it to me, but it was a little bit off the beaten path. And I was really excited about it, and I planned it, and I was telling Michael about it. I was like, it's going to be so much fun. And then the morning of that day hike, like I just woke up being feeling like tempted to just be lazy, and I was telling Michael like maybe I was tempted to tell Michael like maybe we should just chill instead and like hang out here. I don't really want to go. I'm not that stoked about it anymore because I think I was worried, or like I started thinking that like I didn't know that much about the trail. I wasn't able to pre-map it, which is something I like to do on Gaia. And so I was going to have to follow turn by turn directions. And I was just feeling like anxiety from it, things that I didn't know, and all the things, all the mind drama. But it turns out like I'm so glad like I know my own resistance because, yeah, I am so familiar with my own resistance. It's hilariously predictable. It's like an old friend, like an old version of me that's trying to like worm its way back into my life that I have learned in these both scenarios and many other scenarios to just show up regardless of any resistance that I'm feeling in most scenarios. Because I know internally that I'm ready. I know that I was stoked. I know that it's probably going to be awesome and I probably will have an amazing time And it will, even if it's hard, like it'll be an experience that I'm so glad that I pushed myself through. And I know that the resistance is just my brain trying to keep myself in my own comfort zone, because the brain is a sneaky thing. The brain wants us to stay. We talked about this last week in last week's video. Brain just wants you to chill, wants you to be safe, doesn't want you to do anything out of the ordinary, just trying to do its thing. Brain's always trying to keep us safe. So, I wanted to share this concept with you so that mostly you can become aware that this will happen to you and to expect it, and realize that it happens to almost everyone, even people who have been doing the thing you want to do for a long time, like me. This happens to me all the time, and nothing has gone wrong. And I want you to know that the magic happens when you choose to wade through that resistance and see your goal through to the end. So, one of my favorite quotes is from one of my coaches, Brooke Castillo, and it's that resistance is the tax you have to pay in order to achieve your dreams. And it's just so true with backpacking, with building your own business, with learning something new, all the things it applies. So expect the resistance, anticipate it, prepare for it, acknowledge it for what it is, and show up for your goal anyways. So, yes, it will feel uncomfortable, and yes, it will feel like you're going against what you want. But what you have to realize is what you're wanting in the moment, like that week before the thing happens, those momentary desires aren't in alignment with your true desire of growth, and to grow and to expand beyond who you are right now, or to become the woman that you want to become. So you always have to like realign yourself. Yeah, you may have a current desire to like not do anything, but is that in alignment with where you want to go and who you want to become? And that's where you really have to get honest with yourself. So you got to persevere. And in my experience, you'll be very thankful that you did. I have never regretted showing up for a trip, even if I had massive resistance going into it. And even if I showed up to that trip and it was hard, like at the end of that trip, I'm just like so glad that I showed up for myself. I pushed myself. I learned more about myself. It's always been a great experience. It's funny, we actually just had a student in our backpacking badass community who posted about going on the Mount Shasta trip as well. She had signed up for a guided trip as well. And I forget exactly what happened, but it was something like the weather window changed, or there was like the snow wasn't at what they wanted. So they had to change the route from what was originally intended. And now her like mileage and gain on the first day or second day or something was going to be harder than what she originally thought it was going to be. So she was asking us like what she should do. She was questioning whether she could handle it or if she should just back out. And I totally recognize this resistance, but I, like us and like a lot of the community, we just were telling her, she's in great hands. She's with guides. She's been training. She's totally ready. And she might just blow her own damn mind on what's possible for her, because she's living in that reality of like, I've never done something that hard. But this might be the time that she does it. It could be the most amazing thing she's ever attempted to do. So let me know if you've experienced this kind of resistance in the comments. My guess is if you're a human being on this planet, you probably have. I did want to address something else really quick. You might be asking me, like, Allison, how do I know the difference between resistance and a real safety concern or a real readiness concern? And so let's just chat about that really quickly as well, because at first they might sound really similarly in your brain. Like I gave you an example of one of my thoughts for the Mount Shasta trip being like, this might be dangerous. This is going to be dangerous. That's like a thought, and it's a legitimate thought. But I also know it's basically, I have that thought basically for everything I do that's not in the house. Like I have that thought sometimes, like driving to a new location I've never driven to. I'm like, it's gonna be dangerous. Like my brain just goes there. I don't know. I think that's just my That's my burden in life, is to always deal and question that thought and like push through it anyways. Like that's what I'll just have to like get good at. And I have gotten good at it, but it still comes up for me. So what you really need to do with those kinds of questions, or whatever your question is, like if it's a family question or anything, you need to ask yourself, journal or whatever it is, do you really, really believe that? Do you really believe that it's true for you? And get as honest with yourself as possible. Because in most scenarios, like I've been able to tell myself, like, no, in reality, like I am ready for this. I have been training for this. I am prepared. I have backup plans if I need to turn around. Like I can at least go out there and get started. Like I know I have my own back, and most of the time, like the danger is mostly in my brain. Now, of course, there are some scenarios where that could be different. I can think of an example where we were going to do the JMT. Well, we did do the JMT, but one of the concerns that came up was like, there's fires going on right now. Is it even safe? And that was a legitimate thing to think through. Ultimately, we still got on the trail, but we did have to bail early because that was a legitimate safety concern. So I think in your gut, if you really take the time to answer these questions fully and think them through, you'll know whether it's mind drama or a real safety concern. The great thing about having a community like the Backpacking Badass community is you can always ask us those questions and we can kind of like riff off and see, where you're at, what you're comfortable with, and all the things. So, um, I'm just looking at my notes. So I'm just telling you to question it first before believing a thought is true for you, because often your brain is in freak out mode. And okay, that is it for today, my friends. That's all I got for you. I just wanted to talk to you that concept of resistance. I hope it was helpful and made you think about it. And next time you have a big trip or something planned on your calendar or a goal, any kind of thing, honestly, and you start feeling that resistance, always ask yourself, is this in alignment? Like, is this current desire in alignment with my desire to grow? That's a really good question to ask yourself. And then if not, like learn how to move through that resistance so you can start to see your goals through. If you want to get started with more outdoor empowerment awesomeness, definitely grab my Outdoor Adventure Starter Kit, which is full of a bunch of awesome tips and tricks about the outdoors and backpacking. You can grab that at shedreamsofalpine.com/adventure. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I will be doing several live videos over the next month or so. We're actually gearing up for what my team does. We do it like once a year. It's our biggest virtual beginner backpacking event of the season. I'm super excited. I'm going to have more details on that soon. I've been making the plans for it. It will be in early June. You'll probably start hearing me talk about it in late May. So hold on one second. I'm just going to check the chat box and say hello to anyone. Oh my gosh, this must be a good time to do a Facebook Live because there are a lot of you on here. And because last time I think I was talking to myself. Hell yeah, Lauren says, for anything in life, the final do or don't moment. Yes, exactly. Um, I have a friend who will drop out of things from fear or disappointment. That's a big one too. Like, I don't want to be disappointed, or I don't want to fail. Failure is like a whole other topic that we could talk about one day. And I think I did a video actually, if you look back in the archives, on like why you should be willing to fail. I forget the exact title, but it's something about failure. Victoria says, thank you for this, needed to hear it. Great. Good morning, Kathy. Um, Kathleen, hello. Kathleen said, Kathleen is one of our students. I totally feel resistance right before I do something out of my comfort zone. It's a fear of failure for me. Yeah, fear of failure. It almost always feels like I'm just too tired or too busy. Yeah, those are big ones for me. Too tired, too busy. I should probably, like lately, it's like I should probably be working on my business things, even though I've made this new rule for myself where I'm trying not to work on the weekends. So that shouldn't be an excuse for me anymore, but I totally feel you. Will we be able to rewatch this? Kathy, yes, you can rewatch this. This is just going to live on my Facebook page, and I'll probably put it on IGTV as well. So Yes, I'm still perfect time to watch. Okay, great. Well, I'll try to do more Facebook Lives in the mornings then. Thank you so much again for being here. Again, if you want to grab that download at shedreamsofalpine.com/adventure, and I will see you all next week. Goodbye, you guys.